Hi, this is Nick Schrammick again with my partner Howard Chao and our podcast, What's Next In. This episode, Howard speaks to the founder of Coastr. Coastr is a SaaS platform for vehicle rental and fleet management. Their solution includes direct integration with vehicle manufacturers to enable contactless rental and fleet services. Howard, we see lots of interesting companies coming out in the fleet services in space. What do you see in that area, and what do you see special about Coastr?
Well, when I first started speaking to Coastr, I was surprised to learn, maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised, that their customer base, currently many of these companies that own fleets or operate fleets are still operating on spreadsheets. There are very few really integrated solutions as competitors out there. They're making very good progress. The team is strong. They're moving into the US, and I think it's a very interesting play. I think it's just another example of software making different verticals much more efficient.
Great. All right. Well, here is the interview between Howard and the founder of Coastr.
I'm here today with Biswajit of Coastr. He is the founder and CEO, and also with my friend Ignacio Garcia, who is one of the investors and who will be joining me as a co-interviewer for this session. So I'm going to first turn to Ignacio and let him self-introduce a little bit so that people can know who he is. He will be at Bonnie Doon as well. And then we'll quickly turn to Biswajit and his company.
Go ahead. Thank you, Howard, for that brief introduction. Well, Trampoline is indeed an investor in Coastr. We have been an investor for just about a year. And Trampoline is a venture builder and a private investment office. So we look at, founders like Biswajit that have a global view of the business and the idea. So we're really excited to be able to interview and to have an interesting discussion with him.
Terrific. All right. So we're going to be turning now to you, Biswajit. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and then the origin story of Coastr.
Thank you, Howard and Nick. Really excited to be here and also coming over to Bonnie Doon in a month's time. So just for a quick background about myself, I'm a software engineer by background. I worked with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers for a good part of a decade, helping large and small companies with digital transformation, technology strategy. Before founding Coastr, and really at Coastr, it's about solving some of the pain points that I have felt myself as while renting cars. I travel quite a lot, both for kind of work and pleasure, and I've often encountered really unpleasant kind of rental experiences, which kind of forced me to kind of think about Coastr as a solution. But as we sort of delved into this world, what we realized is this whole kind of mobility and the industry itself and consumer trends are massively changing, and we saw a huge opportunity for us to enable what we call as shared mobility. So that's Coastr in a nutshell. But the origins of the company has been mainly to kind of problem solve some of the day-to-day consumer issues that people faced when trying to access a shared asset or a shared vehicle.
Great. So let's peel back the onion a little bit more, Biswajit, and tell us what the core essence of your technology and your business plan is.
Absolutely, and please feel free to kind of stop and ask questions if they're not clear. Coastr's two main principles or two main goals are, one, to enable more kind of shared mobility, which is primarily by working with the small to medium enterprises in the kind of mobility sector. We target any mobility operator, starting from rental companies to car sharing businesses to dealerships and car subscription, which is kind of the more new entrant into the market. And we provide them with a technology that really transforms their business and gives them a one platform approach to not only manage and digitize and kind of run a modern business, but also engage with their customer, giving them a kind of vertical solution that enables them to provide their customers a digital experience under the brand. Finally, one of the kind of uniqueness about our kind of vertical solution is how we also embed connected mobility, which is where we use IoTs and kind of access direct APIs from the manufacturers to get data directly from the vehicle to do some cool things like vehicle tracking, understanding kind of usage, monitoring behavior, but also access to the vehicle and kind of some risk management tools like remote immobilization, which then leads to this whole idea of a more kind of connected mobility as well as contactless mobility journeys for our customers. Where we see real distinction and differentiation in our technology is how we have built the vertical stack. We call it kind of a full stack approach. And that means then our customers have an integrated capability that allows them not only to engage with their customers, but also manage their day-to-day business and stay ahead of the innovation curve.
Right. So maybe you can say a little bit more about the functionality of your platform. What if I'm a customer, what am I looking at on my dashboard? What are the key features and tools I have?
Absolutely. So if you are, let's say, a rental operator or rental business, depending on your scale and size, you're effectively getting, first of all, the first layer, what you call as the customer self-service portals. And that allows you access to, or rather your customers access to all the self-service capabilities from, making their own bookings, looking after their kind of booking information, and also with keyless entry, they can directly go and pick up the vehicle from any location using the kind of what we call key in a phone concept. From the rental operator side, then what we also offer is the operational software, where we bring together all the different processes and bring automation around kind of the booking management, in-depth fleet management, but also powering that with kind of connected mobility. And then you can also do all aspects of billing, invoicing, pricing management, and kind of very detailed embedded reports, management information reports. So in a nutshell, it's the core platform for a rental operator that they would use to not only run their day-to-day business, but also manage their customer interactions.
Right. And so maybe you can also talk a little bit about your target customer market. So I'm assuming you said you're going really after middle to smaller size fleet operators. So you're not going after the Avises and Hertz of the world, but so what is the market structure today? I mean, are there lots of many smaller and medium-sized potential customers out there? And give us a little sense of that, and also what your geographic scope is right now.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question, because that's kind of where the company really kind of started to pivot and understand our market. So what we see across the globe is 40% of the market share is held by SME fleet operators. And typically, like to give you some numbers, UK has over 3,000 plus, small to mid-size fleet operators. It's almost, I think, about 750,000 vehicles to 1 million vehicles with them. There are similar numbers across Europe. There are over 10,000 operators. Some countries like Spain have a lot of fragmentation, especially in holiday locations where there are lots and lots of these small businesses. US has about 5,000 plus kind of operators as well. And then as we go into kind of the world of dealerships, which is another kind of target market for us, we are working with a lot of dealerships to open up new mobility offerings for them. So that's also quite a large, big business or big market. So overall, we see a 250 billion TAM, in pounds, in dollars is about 300 billion TAM that we are trying to really disrupt and bring forth that number of vehicles into a shared mobility ecosystem with our technology.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Look, I've been doing too much talking here, so maybe I can ask Ignacio to talk a little bit about what you saw. What were the main attractors for you in making your investment to Coastr?
Yeah, well, I think it's a jungle out there for owners and users of vehicles. So it is a problem of global scope, and at Trampoline, we like looking at startups that see global problems or problems that can be scaled, the solutions that can be scaled. So that's what we saw in Coastr. When I look at startups around the world, we generally look for, strong founders with the right mindset and skills, and, a solution or a vision for a solution that needs to be solved globally, and certainly Biswajit has that. He's seen that. Obviously, he's got to start in the UK, where there is a massive market, in fact, and he's already got a vision and a strategy in place and a partnership in place in the US. So that was the most obvious market, Anglo-Saxon, maybe Australia as well. So I think, he's definitely drafted a strong and credible strategy to develop Coastr on a global scale, and that's something we like. I have experienced myself that problem, when renting a car, whether in India or in the US or in Argentina or in Spain. And, if you can come up with a solution that gives you a more friendly user experience, I think definitely it's a winner, no? And also, I would say the cherry on the pie is that Biswajit is really promoting sustainable travel. And he does that by enabling shared mobility. And I think that's a futuristic view of the market, which is something I adore. So, we're really excited with what he is doing.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ignacio.
So, Biswajit, so you're a software-only company, right? And so you always have to ask with software companies, what is your moat? So how and who are you competing with? Are there a lot of other companies that have seen the same advantage or opportunity, or what's the situation competitively?
Absolutely. I mean, we are never shy of competition, because at the end of the day, I genuinely believe if we are not pushing our competitors, or our competitors are not pushing us, we are not going to make a difference in this industry. And that's been the case in the last kind of decades. So our main pillar in creating a moat is around the partnership ecosystem, or what we call as the mobility ecosystem development. So while we are developing all these core platform features and the core technology around it, in the background, what we are forming are lots of alliances. And typically, these are all tech-enabled alliances or tech-enabled partnerships. Smart Car is a good example. So with them, for example, we offer the whole suite of kind of keyless entry technology or API connectivity to the manufacturers without actually requiring any hardware. And so it's a very strategic partnership between Coastr and Smart Car, which we have been investing in the last 18 months, even before, let's say, Smart Car had any real use case in the rental industry. So that kind of partnership ecosystem that we are building with the likes of, Smart Car and Stripe for payments, with kind of vehicle insurance companies, with service and maintenance networks. For example, we've got Epics in the UK just now. We're part of FleetCor, which is an American company. That is what creates the defendability, because if you think about it in the longer term strategy, Coastr becomes intrinsic, not only because of our core offering, which is hard to move away from, but also these value adds we are creating through this integrated nature of partnership ecosystem means our customers benefit from better finance, better insurance, better service connectivity, and that means they don't need to go anywhere or to any other competition.
Right. Well, that's a great lead into my next question, which is how much traction have you accomplished so far? And can you describe that? I mean, you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but what can you say?
I will try my best to kind of talk about them as much as I can, but we have been growing quite rapidly. We started off in the UK market, obviously, because that's kind of where we are based as of now. But we are up to 80 plus customers in a matter of 18 months. And we have started to kind of grow our base in the US market as well. Right now, I think we are at 20 plus in the last 2 months since we have hired someone in the US. And what's encouraging is as our product has evolved, we actually have tested product market fit in not just the kind of small segment, what we call as tier 3, less than kind of 250 vehicles segment, but also in the kind of slightly mid-size and larger operators, 20, 30,000 vehicles. I mean, just again, kind of, I think I can mention this. We just won the tender with Zenith Leasing, one of the largest kind of leasing companies in the UK. And what they liked about Coastr is not just the fact that we can replace the rental system, but it's a strategic platform that can really enable some of the transformation within their business. And I'm working with, very closely with the leadership on that. And there are several instances of these. Again, I can't name some of these, unfortunately, but we've got almost like a list of at least 15 to 20 large clients who are looking at Coastr as a strategic platform to not only replace their legacy capabilities, but also look at the future in how they can bring or introduce new mobility offerings under their brand. And there are some exciting names out there that I can mention.
Great.
Sorry.
So we're running a little bit short on time here, but we do need to cover a couple other things. One thing at the end we'd like to cover is your capital formation status. And maybe you and Ignacio can talk about that whole strategy. But before we get there, can you just say a little bit about moving into the US? Because obviously that's the prize, the biggest prize, and the most car crazy market in the world. Well, maybe not so much anymore with China, but what's the challenge for moving into the US and how's it different? And then talk about your capital formation.
Yeah, to be honest, we are in early days of our experimentation with the US market move, but what we have found is some really positive indicators, right? So, for example, our partnership with Smart Car is really helping that out, and that's kind of where a large part of our acquisition and growth strategy also relies in how we distribute through partners. But what is encouraging in the US market is with Smart Car, the whole idea of going contactless through their kind of direct API integration, we have much better coverage in terms of manufacturers and brands in the US, because that's where Smart Car started from, which means we don't have the typical barriers to adoption that we get in UK and Europe with that technology. So in a way, we have been able to work on a faster adoption with our US customers. The second thing which we have really kind of enjoyed working with our US customers is their kind of innovation spirit. So they are quite happy to try and experiment and really get into it very quickly. And we see that. So typically, just to explain that in terms of our sales and onboarding life cycle, out here in the UK, a sales cycle would go maybe 14 days, and an onboarding could take about a week or two, depending on the customer size. I'm talking about the smaller ones. In the US, the sales cycle is half of that, and the onboarding is 1/3 of that, because people want to make decisions faster, try out the platform, and start moving forward with it even quicker than what we have seen in kind of UK and other kind of European locations. So those things are very encouraging for us in terms of the US market. Challenges, what we see is like any typical businesses, how do we scale and make it a great experience for our customers? We are already making some investments towards that. For example, we are just hiring a customer success team out there to work with kind of locally with our sales team that will provide kind of the local point in contact and the support when needed. We already have a global team in India, so that actually helps achieve some of the scale faster than a lot of other countries, because we can provide all the service from there. And then obviously start looking at some of the product changes that we need for that market as well.
So all right, so let's talk about your capital situation, and I'm sure that Ignacio is involved in helping you strategize that. So maybe both of you can discuss what your history and future strategy is.
Of course. So I mean, in terms of our different funding rounds, just to give you a bit of background how it is. We have done 3 capital raises up until now, with a total of, again, I'm talking in pounds here, 2.6 million in total, which has been raised in 3 rounds. We are a company which focuses on unit metrics quite a lot, so we don't raise more money than what we need. And So we have utilized our raises in the past very well. In fact, our current raise, which we just closed, which was a 1.2 million round, will get us hopefully to kind of being profitable with the current base of customers that we have. And then the next fair round of funding, which is likely to be a kind of 5 to 10 million raise, again in pounds, which is our Series A, is aimed to fund the growth. So that's where we invest that capital into scaling up the business to provide all the kind of relevant services, but also expand kind of our sales and marketing and other infrastructural changes required into US and European market. The other aspect where this funding will go into is also launching of new products. So going back into that whole idea of shared mobility and creating access, our next phase of development is the aggregation model, where we start to use the supply chain that we have built with the SME network to then connect them to existing aggregators and mobility as a service providers. And already we are speaking with some of the notable brands like Uber, Get Around, Lyft, and others on those, and they're very interested in that kind of supply chain that we have created, the additional supply of fleet. So that's kind of where that additional growth funding will go into creating new products, as well as funding our growth into new markets outside of the UK.
Terrific. Ignacio, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just a little thing. Well, we've invested in 3 occasions, in 3 rounds over the last, say, 14 months or so. So we've been supportive of what Biswajit is doing, and also making introductions. He has participated in our summit in Switzerland as well, and got a few leads from there. So we are there. I think we are the kind of investor that gets involved. And I hope that Biswajit appreciates that. And we will continue to be supportive. So that's all I can say.
Terrific. So any other areas you want to cover with us, Biswajit? I mean, I guess we didn't have a chance to talk about your team. Maybe you could just say a couple words about your team.
It's a great point, because I think one of the great things about Coastr is the culture and the team, but also how we are structured, right? So just in the leadership team, we have some fantastic people. Some of them have been sort of co-founders as well, have been with me since the beginning of the start of the business. So, for example, Rishabh, who's our CTO, he and also kind of acting as our Chief Operating Officer. He looks after the Indian entity, where we have our kind of what you call engineering and product talents, and also some of the kind of customer support and sales and marketing staff as well. Lee is our head of sales, global sales. So he again comes from a telematics background and has relevant kind of experience in this industry, and he's kind of spearheading some of our sales effort. We've got great kind of other expertise in the team, some from industry, and it's a great blend of sort of industry people, but also people who have worked in startups or in scale-ups, and they bring that kind of into a really nice blend of cultural collaboration, where we work with not only between different teams, but also with our customers, which is a core part of how we build our product. And we like to co-create with them quite heavily in that process.
Terrific.
If we have 1 extra minute, I'll add just a little thing there.
Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's actually quite an important point. I had the opportunity to meet the whole team in Bangalore. I was there in June, and frankly, I was impressed by the youth and by the commitment and the knowledge, whether, in all the areas that where Coastr operates, whether it's telecommunications, digital marketing, electronics, coding, they have people or team members, there was one age 17 or 18 up to, 35, 40 or something like that. So that's actually a strength in Coastr. The team they got divided between Edinburgh and Bangalore. Obviously, India being, a key country or key supplier of IT knowledge.
Terrific. Well, this has been a very useful and interesting session. Thank you today for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Likewise.